Powerful insights often occur when you least expect them. On Transformative Leadership Conversations, they're at the heart of every episode. Hi, I'm your host, Winnie da Silva. In this new season, I'm sharing short, focused leadership insights, practical ideas, myths worth challenging, and tools you can immediately apply in your work. Today, we'll explore what it really takes to lead effectively, from understanding your role and the value you create to sharpening the way you think, communicate, and solve problems as a leader. In each episode, you'll walk away with inspiration, strategies, and practical tools to strengthen your leadership, build effective teams, and lead thriving organizations. So this episode is all about what I do, who it's for, and why it works. If you want to learn more about my origin story, how I got here, check out my episode titled Celebrating 20 Years of Transformative Leadership, which came out on October 15th, 2025. The link will be in the show notes. So if you're considering working with me, this episode will help you decide what it's like to work with me and kind of what I'm like and what my frameworks are like. If you are already my client, you may learn a bit more about what I do. So I work with leaders who are serious about growth, especially during leadership career pivots. So I work with clients who are in transition, who are in growth mode, who are under a lot of pressure or dealing with a lot of complexity. Maybe there's conflict that they're dealing with. They have a lot more visibility. There's a much larger scope. So for a couple of examples, you might be a senior executive moving from thinking vertically about your own team, your own department, your own office, to thinking horizontally across the entire enterprise, expanding your sphere of influence. Or you might be a leader who has recently been promoted, and you're dealing with a very steep learning curve as you level up your leadership. Or you might be someone who's been challenged with a particular development area that's getting in your way, or maybe a relationship, and you need to approach these difficulties really differently. People often ask me about which industries I've worked in. Now, while having some industry experience is really helpful, most of my work is honestly industry agnostic because leadership always comes down to mindset and people challenges. So I've got a variety of industry experience, which I've loved. So management consulting, private equity, finance, technology, media, communications, fashion retail, hospitality, higher education, real estate. So I really have a wide variety, but again, it's really about the people management and the mindsets. So my work operates across three interconnected streams: executive coaching, leadership development, and team effectiveness. And what I love about doing all three of those is that they all reinforce each other. So for each of these work streams, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it looks like in practice, what it's designed to change, and just one quick example of the kind of outcome it can create. So let's start with executive coaching. Executive coaching centers around one-on-one sessions with the purpose of uncovering blind spots in your development areas, as well as leveraging strengths by developing a tailored development plan aligned with your business goals. And then together we track measurable progress for tangible results. So essentially, at the end of the day, it's about helping you tackle the challenges you're facing and to come alongside you as a sounding board and strategic partner. So one quick example. I have an executive that I worked with several years ago. His name was Jack, not his real name. He was the CEO of investments at an investment bank. He was now in the middle, and which is why he brought me in, managing and developing a brand new team. And in that team, what he was doing was identifying a new strategic direction for the firm. That was kind of a big deal. He was also at the same time managing senior stakeholders, including his boss, the CEO, and the entire executive team. So our work primarily focused on building trust with senior stakeholders, really being clear and strategic in his communication with these stakeholders, especially as he was influencing, but also providing, really just facts and figures around the potential direction of the firm, and really managing political alliances. So it was a really great engagement, but again, just a taste of some of the work that I've done. A quick example, which is totally different, I partnered with a global technology firm, and what they were doing is they were doing a global coaching pilot. And what their purpose is to identify potential opportunity to bring in on-site coaches full-time. So as part of that pilot, I coached 13 different people at all different levels in 5 different countries. So really different example. Leadership development. Leadership development is more than just training. One thing I say at the start of every leadership program is this: if at the end of this program you don't change anything, this will have been a complete waste of time and money. So as we go through today's program, start thinking of at least one thing you will do differently that you will experiment with at the end of this program. So for those of you who are listening, you know that I say this at the beginning of each program, because I want people to already, even before I start introducing content, to be thinking about what's the one thing I'm going to do differently. Because what I offer is not an off-the-shelf, one-size-fits-all approach, although sometimes the needs of a company or of a team are pretty straightforward. Many times I'm working with a specific leader or group of leaders. Then I will collaborate with my clients to target the real need and design and customize the programs to meet that need. Sometimes I develop a partnership with HR, and we offer open enrollment programs across the entire organization. Other ways I do leadership development is through facilitating large leadership offsites. I really love this work, and it's a great way to develop leaders on a large scale across an entire organization. The last thing I want to do is waste a client's time and money with training that does not really hit the mark, because what you and my clients are really after is sustained behavioral change. So I have about 20 leadership sessions under some of these program categories. Let me list them: strategic thinking and influence, leading and developing others, strategic and sharp communications, driving results through relationships, navigating change and uncertainty, and career growth and ownership. So let me just give you a very, very simple and quick example of a client where I do some leadership development with. So I've got a client, investment bank, that I've been working with, say, for about the past 5 years. And what I love about working with this client, I do coaching as well with them, but every year they do a promotion program. So anyone who's been promoted that year, they offer some training and some leadership skills. And I'm asked to create programs and facilitate programs every year for them for those promotion programs. So I love that kind of work because it really is embedded in when they're already naturally developing leaders and promoting them. That's exactly the right time when they want to be taking on new skills. Okay, the last work stream is building effective teams. Working with clients to build effective teams is guided by my own robust team development framework, which was developed by Peter Axelson, who is a colleague, mentor, and friend of mine. And in fact, if you want to learn more, I'm going to give you a couple of tidbits now, but if you want to learn more, in season 4 of my podcast, Peter and I walk through each piece of that framework. And we built a podcast companion to go with it, because at the end of every one of those episodes, we offer exercises that any team leader can use with their team. So the first question you might ask is this: how do you know if a team is effective? So my team development framework outlines 5 metrics that determine team effectiveness. 1, what is the quality of the team's output? So whatever that team does, how high of a quality is it? 2, efficiency of the team in doing that work. 3, satisfaction of team members with the dynamics and climate of the team. So in other words, how satisfied are the team members in the culture of that team? And then the last 2 metrics are around learning, both individual learning and team learning. So how much are the individuals on the team learning in terms of not their technical skills, what they do on their job, but in terms of things like collaboration and giving feedback. Team learning, similar kind of thing. How good is the team in terms of learning and evolving and getting better together as a team? Okay, now the second question you might ask is this: well, so how do you then build an effective team? Well, there are 8 building blocks or levers to enable teams to become more effective. The very first one is a foundation of sound interpersonal relationships. Okay, now when you think about it, all of us have been on a team probably where there was one relationship that wasn't quite working, or maybe you were part of that relationship that wasn't quite working. You know, when there's a relationship that's not right on a team, it affects the entire team. So that's why it's the foundation. You want everyone to have good interpersonal relationships on a team. Second is alignment on objectives. How well is that team aligned on what the objectives of that team should be doing? Next, the joint work. The joint work is probably one of the building blocks that sound least familiar, but let me put it simply. The joint work is the highly interdependent, high value work that that team does together. Do you know what that work is? Are you clear on it? And are you doing that work? Next, robust work processes. Do you have really good work processes that are in place, that are developed, and that are working well? Shared responsibility mindset. Does everyone on the team feel some sort of ownership and responsibility to the team? Or are they all sort of thinking, well, the team leader will be in charge of the team. I don't need to be responsible for it. Aspirational culture with supporting norms. Every single team has a culture, but is it the culture that you want, right? Is it the culture that's working for you to establish and achieve the goals that you have? High quality conversations. Do you have a culture and skills on your team where there are really good conversations happening? Meaning, do you understand the thinking behind other people's thoughts? Do you ask really good questions to bring out what's behind that decision? The last one is continuous improvement mechanisms. Do you have mechanisms in place to ensure that you are continuing to improve as a team? Most teams come together to do the work of what it is you should be doing as a team. Most teams don't think about how should we work on the team to get better as a team. Okay, so the third question you might ask is this: how do you know if this type of work is right for you and your team? I'll give you a couple examples. It may seem like your team is getting the work done, but something's not quite right. You're not sure what it is, but something's not right. Or you know something is really wrong, right? The bus is in the ditch, but you don't know exactly how to fix it. Or another scenario, perhaps you're someone with a brand new team and it's critical to get your team ramped up and tapping into all of its talents and capabilities as soon as possible. All of these scenarios are ones in which I can help. Now, this was a very quick walkthrough. And again, like I said, for a much deeper dive on this framework and lots of client examples, check out this show, Transformative Leadership Conversations, Season 4. These episodes will give you a taste of the type of work I do in effective teams in a much deeper way. One really quick example around team development work that I do. During the pandemic, during COVID, I worked with a pharmaceutical company. They were creating a brand new virtual team that were coming together. It was global. And what they really wanted to do is figure out, how do we function virtually, globally? How do we get to know each other quickly so that we can do good work? What's the culture that we want to have on this team? And then what is that high value, highly interdependent joint work that we really should be spending the time doing together? That was an amazing project. They really came together as a team, and it really got them to be able to kick off and take off in what they wanted to do as a team. So all these frameworks and all these 3 work streams, executive coaching, leadership development, building effective teams, these are all the framework, stories, and concepts. They all work together across each other as I work with clients all the time. And I love it also when I get to create a really deep partnership with a client and I use all 3. I have one example that comes immediately to mind. It's a private equity backed company. I started out working with the CEO and his direct reports in a team development engagement. We worked with that team to really get them established, figure out where the kinks were, work those out. And that led to other work. I did some really large-scale leadership development programs with their top 100 people. At least, I think we did 4 or 5 sessions together. I coached at least 3 executives in that company and did a bunch more. So it was a great partnership. So kind of example where all these come across even within one client. So what makes my work different? How am I unique compared to my other amazing colleagues in this field? So my background in business consulting, corporate leadership, and doing this work for over 20 years So what I bring is really, on the one end, is really good listening skills, asking good questions, and then I'm able to pair that with sharing really practical examples and frameworks in co-collaboration with my clients to, again, bring lasting business results. That's absolutely imperative because my clients and you are looking for both practical and transformational outcomes rather than transactional short-term results. So rather than focusing on fixing this person or a tool that will be the silver bullet, what we're really doing together is addressing root causes for sustainable results. Now, it's interesting because clients typically tell me that some of their past experiences elsewhere are oftentimes like they're too generic, too off the shelf, sometimes too academic, and really then lacking a direct link, again, to business results and lasting change. So what's important to me is shifting the frame from what I do, which of course is important, but shifting it also to how our partnership works together. So co-creation for me is all about honesty, experimentation, reflection, iteration. You'll see those themes as I talk throughout this entire season, honestly. And what's interesting is that long-term partnerships and what I call kind of super referrals come from these deep transformation rather than transactional engagements. So at the end of the day, another important part of this work is that I am only as good as my clients. Because at the end of the day, you have to do the work, right? My successful engagements with leaders and companies come down to this. You are willing to be honest with yourself and you're willing to do the hard work. If you don't hold the belief that someone else has to change, right? So doing kind of this, looking at other people to change rather than it being you. Also, you're willing to view different perspectives, see other people's views, even if you don't agree with them, but you're willing to step into other people's perspectives. And then, of course, organizations see our work together as an investment of time and money, and they're willing to spend time with me to co-create fantastic leadership and team learning and growth together. So where are some examples where this type of work isn't successful? If people are seeking a quick fix, leaders who are not comfortable with change, and teams who are just doing this because the leader said so, without any real buy-in. So I'll close by leaving you with these questions. How might you need to elevate your leadership or the leadership of your team? What kind of sustainable business results are required of your team right now? And where is your team struggling to meet them? If you're looking to elevate leadership, your own, your team's, or somewhere across the organization, and want to partner with that work, please reach out. I'd love to talk. Thank you for listening to this episode of Transformative Leadership Conversations. If you're ready to take your leadership to the next level or empower your teams for success, I'm here to help. Reach out to me directly at winnie@winifred.org or visit www.winniedasilva.com to learn more about my work coaching executives, developing critical leadership skills, and helping organizations build effective teams. You can also find me on Substack, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And remember, you're always welcome to take a seat at the table, where every conversation has the potential for transformative change.